Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. A very warm welcome to anyone who's new to this channel, and of course, a warm welcome to my return viewers. So yesterday was the memorial of Bruno Gurneen leaving his body, and I think what's most present for me as I reflect on that is two things. How to language it. Well, first, the end goal of spirituality, as shared by Bruno and as shared by many, many different wise beings throughout the ages. And then the path to that end goal. And so Bruno spoke in language that was very similar to many great other sages. He said things like salvation, freedom from all evil, being completely unattached. So these, cross culture, cross history, there's different words to describe. Hi, Jisoo. To describe sort of what's the end. I like the phrase end game. What's the end game in the spiritual game of life? And what Bruno shared was not so different from what anyone else shared, in my understanding anyway. One of the most direct, and Bruno again would use words like detachment, salvation, entering fully into God, although I don't have that one directly from him, but Greta Hausler said that was what he spoke of. I think one of the clearest expressions is Bruno said to free the soul from evil. That evil literally surrounds and grasps the soul. He said, that is what this is all about, meaning his work. So that's the end, right? Enlightenment, salvation, liberation, different words. But what about the path to get there? Well, here's where it gets interesting, for me anyway, is, there are some universal truths that show up. Love, compassion, service, faith, spiritual practice, watching your thoughts. These are things that Bruno Groening taught, but they're things that you find all around the world, throughout history and time. But then the path gets very individualized. Bruno spoke about this, that each one of us came here with a particular mission, with particular lessons to learn. Aw, thanks forever. And so we've got this end goal, which we can use words to talk about, right? But having not experienced it, I'm not really qualified. Only someone like Bruno, in my view, only someone like Bruno Groening is qualified to really talk about the end goal: liberation, enlightenment, salvation. And then we've got the path. And again, there's some universal principles you can find everywhere. And then we each have some individual lessons. And then different teachers and teachings, they each have sort of their own gift or emphasis. Bruno really emphasized the divine power. There are some traditions that really don't. But where my attention really today is this from a quote from Bruno. Bruno said, "Only someone who has detached himself from all worldly things, who does not cling to the earthly, but clings to Who? To what? To the one whom we belong can follow God. So Bruno would say that we belong to God. And so that's a very strong statement. Only someone who has detached themselves from all worldly things and attached themselves to God can follow God. Hi, Angshu. I'll get to that in a moment. Thank you. So, this is on my mind today because this comes down to the idea of humility, right? Until I have completely detached from the world, that doesn't mean I'm not going to live in the world, but that means literally I'm not attached to things in the world. Until I am fully attached to the divine and fully unattached from the world, I'm not fully following God. So this is a very humbling thing. And I look at every person and everything that way. It's like you're either a master or you're not. And so far as I can tell, there may be lots of masters in the world, but they're not sort of out in the open. But this becomes so significant because it's so easy, and I've fallen into this, to take on spiritual beliefs and be like, oh, I've got it all figured out. When actually, while my soul may be pure and my soul may be divine, and Bruno was adamant about this, that each one of us is divine in our essence, until we've completely freed ourselves from evil, we're still being led by evil. Some of us more, some of us less. That's a very hard, it's there's the expression, the red pill. It's a very hard truth to swallow. And I'll say it again. This is just my view. Find out for yourself. Until we've completely freed ourselves from evil, until we're completely detached from the world and attached to the divine, then we're under the influence. We're under the influence of evil. We're being led by evil. Not 100%, hopefully not 100% led by evil, but to some extent. And so all this is very important to me because I'm transitioning, and this is just my journey. Part of this YouTube channel is about what did Bruno Gurneen teach, and part of it is about my personal journey with it. And each one of us has our own personal journey with Bruno Gurneen and his teachings. Is I'm transitioning from a more religious orientation to what I'm calling a more spiritual orientation. And by that, I mean taking, and well, it was from a religious orientation to a spiritual to I don't quite have the word. Well, what comes to me is there. It's written that I'm going to do a little segue and I'll come back. It's written that the Buddha said that that until we're liberated, it's like we're living in a house that's on fire and we don't even realize it. In essence, that having attachment, having not being fully enlightened is quite a messy state. It is quite a confusing, baffling, painful state. Now, to bring this around to Bruno Groening, Bruno spoke about, and I've said this many times and I'll keep saying it, spoke of life as a spiritual battle. And he said evil will do everything within its power to pull people off the good path. And here, Bruno just said, unless you're completely detached from earthly things, you can't follow God. So I'm kind of transitioning. I went from religious approach to Bruno to a spiritual approach, and now I'm going to a hardcore approach of like this is a full-on endeavor. Bruno called us to examine every thought. And so that's not a little thing. It's a simple thing. It's not an easy thing. It's not a complicated idea. Okay, just watch every thought. Discern, is it a good thought? Is it a bad thought? Not complicated. You could explain it to a child, but to do it and to live it, not easy. Not easy. Not easy in my experience. So that's kind of the direction I'm headed. That's what most videos on here are going to be about, is sort of the hardcore. I don't want to say life or death approach to Bruno Groening's teaching, but sort of the spiritual warrior. Like, we're at war. I'm at war with evil. It's my view. Each person has to decide this for themselves. But I'm at war with evil, and I'm convinced every single human being is at war with evil until they're completely free. And, find out for yourself if that's true. And I forgot. I want to start every single video now. Please don't believe anything I say. Find out for yourself what's true. Come to your own conclusion. I'm just sharing my conclusion. And as I said at the beginning, I'm not a master. I am not completely free of evil. Therefore, everything I say or do is slightly tainted. In my good moments, purity, yes. In my not so good moments, tainted. Most minutes of the day, some combination. I'm not a master. I'm a master in potential, as I believe all of us are, as Bruno adamantly stated. But I'm in process, as it were. That's why I encourage people to read Bruno's teachings for themselves, tune in, and don't follow me. Hopefully what I do inspires you. That's actually what Bruno Gurneen said the purpose of Community Hour was to encourage people to follow the path, which I think encouragement and inspiration are. But he never said that you need the Community Hour unless you are very weak. He said for those who are too weak to take in the energy on their own, for such people, then they do need the group to take the energy in. So I'm sharing all this because the way I'm going to start teaching this kind of hardcore spiritual warrior, it's not how most people teach Bruno Gurneen. In my view, most people teach sort of a religious or a spiritual approach, that's cool. I'm not trying to be critical, and I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else. God knows, and Bruno knows. I have my share of challenges and difficulties, and that's just what I'm called to, is to try to live and to try and share I don't know what else to call it. The hardcore approach or the spiritual warrior approach. So that's a lot of words. And Angshu. So let's see. Please let me know if you're still out there, and I'll address your question. If you are, just say hello. Let's take a few minutes. Please reflect on everything I said. Please don't believe anything I say. Please don't, and what I mean by that is don't accept it as true. Feel in, tune in, listen inside, and see if it's true. So let's spend a few minutes taking in this divine energy. And Angshu, please let me know if you're still out there. Hi, Magdalena. Hi, Shelley. So that's just where I'm at in my spiritual journey and my walk with the teachings of Bruno. Hi, Elle. Thanks for saying hello. Welcome to the channel. And I just I've been on the spiritual journey now for 33 years. I started meditating when I was 16. I'm 49 years young. And I feel like what I'm talking about today, this hardcore piece, this at war piece. And again, I just want to be really clear. I'm not a master. I'm not able to present. I'm talking about the teachings of masters, like talking about Bruno's teachings. I've referenced the Buddha. These are people I consider masters. But I'm not, all I can do is communicate my best understanding. So, so please, like, read their teachings for yourself, reflect for yourself. But so I've been doing this for 33 years, and I feel like I'm just this new piece, and I'm still looking for the word, what to call it. But I like the Buddha's analogy of being in a burning house and not even knowing it's burning, being trapped, really. I feel like I'm just waking up to that piece of it. And without that piece of the puzzle, it's kind of like this constant spinning. On the one hand, reaching for God, and on the other hand, reaching for things in the world. They've spoken this very clearly in the East, and you'll find it a little bit in the West, that there's no real lasting happiness to be found in people, places, or things. There's no happiness in the world. And here Bruno says this. that if you want to follow God, you have to, he doesn't say that exactly, but he says if you want to follow God, you have to detach yourself from worldly things. He doesn't say you have to become a monk or a nun, but you have to cultivate non-attachment. And, this is where maybe the teaching of the Buddha of the middle way of like, it's the difference between indulgence and unhealthy asceticism is the middle way of balance. But regardless, cultivating detachment from people, places, or things. Now, it can be like, well, why be detached? Well, Bruno laid it out here. If I'm attached to people, places, and things, I'm not attached to the divine. And being attached to the divine is the only way. Clinging to the divine is the only way to become free from evil. To recognize, going back to the Buddha, to recognize we're in this burning house and to find our way out. In the Buddhist language, it's our attachment that keeps us in the burning house. And the things that we think are pleasurable, and sure, they're pleasurable in the moment, but it's not about pleasurable and not pleasurable. It's about being attached to things, keeps us bound. That's the Buddhist way of saying it. Bruno's way of saying it is if you're attached to worldly things, you're not attached to God, and you need to. So that's just where I'm at on my journey. I support people wherever they are in theirs. Agnes Shu is no longer here. They said, I just read Magic Song. You've been on the spiritual journey for about 100 lifetimes, probably. I deny your 33-year affirmation. Magic Song. Thank you, brother. Angshu said, how to heal myself, please guide me. The first thing I would say is ask a master for help. This channel is dedicated to Bruno Groening, but as you can tell, I'm a big fan of the Buddha. I'm a big fan of Jesus. I'm a somewhat fan of Ramana Maharshi. I have a lot of respect for Eastern traditions, and Bruno never wanted to form a monotheistic thing of like only me. Like I'm the only one who can provide spiritual help. If that'd be my first piece of advice and I don't say like, good, I'm not, when I say ask a master for help, I'm talking inwardly. Christ, Buddha, Bruno, someone who you just, a being that you feel you can trust your soul with. Ask them for help and guidance, and then see where you're led. You might be led to the teachings of Bruno Gurneen. You might be led to Buddhist teaching, Hindu. You might be led to Christian. There are universal truths, but there's like infinite paths to get there. The spiritual path is like a dance and each person has their own individual dance up the mountain. Aw, thank you, Magic Song. Yeah, and part of that, it comes down to humility of like, it's, if you want to learn an art form, you go to a master and ask them to teach you. Well, what we're talking about here is finding our way out of the most complicated, confusing maze. Whether you take the Eastern view of like samsara is a very common word, or the way Bruno expressed it very simply, evil. It's cunning, baffling, and powerful. It's evil, ego, whether you call it evil or ego, it operates in deceit and deception. So we literally need a master to guide our way out. I can't lead anyone out. I can hopefully give pointers in the right direction, but only someone, in my view, only someone who's fully emerged can adequately guide someone. That's why I don't look to human beings or organizations to guide me, maybe to encourage a little, maybe to support, maybe to inspire, for community. Yes, those things are good and important. So, thank you for dropping by, Magic Song. It's funny, you've been in my thoughts lately. And thank you for everyone else. Jisoo, forever loving everything. L. Oh, L, you said hello before and I missed it. Angshu, Shelly, Magdalena. And the last thing I'll say is I've kind of been hiding behind Bruno's teachings, and as I share on this channel, meaning I've just been talking about, I'm like, Bruno said this, Bruno said that, I'm going to try and be a little more real, a little more authentic, a little more me, and a little less of a preacher. And so that may work for some people and it may not work for other people. And again, I honor. Aw, thank you, Magic Song. I try, brother man. Shelly, that's a deep question. I actually have another time commitment that I need to log off for, but I hear your question, and I will make a video on it when the time is right. I wish everyone a beautiful, beautiful day, and I am going to make another video today honoring Bruno's passing yesterday. And this was on my mind and heart, and I wish everyone much grace and the humility to ask a master for help. And please reflect on these things and come to your own conclusions. Take care. Big love.